You can find multiple instances of me on this very channel saying that I would never run and I hate running. And here we are filming a 6-month running journey video. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Catherine and I've been a gym girly for 6-7 years now, maybe a little bit longer. I love lifting weights in the gym, but about 6 months ago I decided I wanted to switch it up and try running. And now we are 6 months into my journey. I started out not even being able to run a full mile without stopping, and my PR distance as of lately is 5 miles without stopping, which would have had me 6 months ago shook. So in this video I'm going to be going over my full running journey, why I started running, how running's going, what goals I have, anything I would have done differently, tips for beginners, how to improve on your runs, my warm-up routine, favorites, etc. We have a lot to cover, so sit tight and let's get into it. Okay, first starting out with why I started running. So you guys have probably noticed that running is definitely kind of trendy right now. I hate that like fitness has to be about trends, but I definitely was exposed to more people running and more people talking about running than I had in the past. And I'm not gonna say that's the reason, but I think it definitely contributed. I am easily influenced, okay? But I don't think of anything in fitness in my life as a trend. Like I said, I've been lifting weights for 6 to 7 years now. So clearly that's not just a trend for me, that is a part of my life. And I'm treating running in the same way. I'd say the biggest reason I started running is I've never been super into cardio, mostly because I've just never felt very good at it. But there would be times, honestly, where, you know, I'd walk up a couple flights of stairs and be a little bit more winded than I'd want to be. I definitely consider myself a very in shape person. I work out at least 5 to 6 days a week because I love to do it. I'm overall healthy, but I definitely feel like my cardio fitness was lacking, and I honestly always envy those people who could just like go out on a run and run a couple miles and have it kind of be no big deal. So I started running honestly with the goal of just being able to get outside, run a couple miles, and not feel like I was going to die. I've spent the last so many years focusing on muscle growth, being strong, which I still think is the #1 priority for me. I think everyone needs to be weight training. It's so good for you. It's so important, especially as you age, to have good muscle mass and bone density, which is really what strength training is doing for you. So my goals with running, again, I just wanted to be able to run, honestly, just a couple miles without feeling like I was going to die. I have no goals of being able to run a half marathon, a marathon, running a sub 25-minute 5K. These are all things I didn't even really think about before I started running, and I still honestly do not care about that. I really just wanted to enjoy myself, feel like I was in better cardio shape. I had no goals physically in terms of changing the way I look. I'm very happy with the way I look. I actually don't even really want to lose any weight or anything like that. We'll get into body changes at the end. Basically, I wanted running to be something that comes a little bit easier to me to do 1 or 2 times a week, and just have something else in my fitness repertoire that I just feel like I am good at. I know a lot of people like to create really specific goals, but for me, I think having the goal of just incorporating something into your lifestyle and just having the goal of just enjoying something is going to help you stick with something so much better long term. I think part of the reason why I've stuck with the gym for so long is because I truly enjoy going there. And if I went to the gym for a specific physical goal and you probably won't reach that physical goal in the same amount of time that you think you will or ever, then you're going to give up on that. So I feel like having kind of more lax goals just for the enjoyment of it is what helps me stick with things long term. So next section, kind of how I got started and an overview of my running journey. So I kind of decided that I wanted to start running back in May of this year, and it's definitely been very sporadic for the first few months. I had a lot of life changes in the summer. I was traveling a lot. Anyways, the very first thing I did is I went out and got myself a pair of running shoes. As a former dancer, I know that footwear and making sure you're prepared for any exercise you go into is very important, and I just felt like none of the shoes that I had were really gonna cut it for running. And this is something that I definitely recommend if you are starting your running journey, is honestly go to a running store, get yourself fitted for a new pair of shoes. I got myself the Brooks Adrenaline GTS, and then this was another pair of shoes they recommended to me that I ended up getting like a month later. They're the Asics GT 2012s. I actually prefer the Asics. I do highly recommend going to a running store and getting fitted for them. They do like a little foot scan. I don't know how accurate any of it is, but I definitely do pronate a little bit with my feet, and I have very high arches, and I also have kind of wider feet, so they recommended these shoes based on that for me. A lot of you guys have asked for like shoe reviews and things, but I really really think shoes are just so personal, so I don't really feel comfortable recommending one pair of shoes to the masses. But another thing I will say is they recommended a size 8.5, and I'm normally a size 8, and that extra half inch has been so important for not like losing toenails and crazy things like that. So that's another thing with running shoes. You are going to be wearing probably a half size up from your normal shoe size, which is why you should get a new pair of shoes before starting to run. Anyways, I do really like both of these shoes. I think the Asics are just a little bit lighter and a little bit more springy, and I just feel like I run a little bit better in these. So I do prefer these ones. But recently I've kind of just been switching between the two pairs of shoes. So go to your local running store, support your local running store, buy them from the running store so that they can stay in business and help out the people who need help picking shoes. So like I said, my first couple months of running were very sporadic. I probably only ran like 3 to 4 times during the first 2 months of May and June. I also decided to start running during the peak of Arizona summer, where it does not get below like 85 degrees even at like 3 a.m. So it was not the easiest time to start running, but the boost I saw in the fall, amazing. So people thought I was crazy for starting to run during the summer, but I wanted to start running then. What was I gonna do? Wait like 6 months? Because Arizona never cools down. So how I personally started is I just went outside and decided I was gonna start running. And so I tried to run a mile. It probably made it like 0.3 miles before I just felt like I couldn't breathe anymore and I was dying. So I started off not even being able to run a full mile. Since it was super hot, I also did quite a few treadmill runs, and I have a Peloton, so I already have access to the Peloton app. So I did a couple Peloton beginner guided runs as well, and I felt like running on the treadmill at first definitely helped me kind of have a sense of what my pace was and what running at different speeds felt like. And the first mile I ran without stopping was in July, so it took me about 2 months to finally run a full mile without stopping, and I believe that was on the treadmill. And then from there I committed to a 3-mile loop outside, and I would just go and run as much of that as I could, and then I would take walking breaks as needed. Usually I would run like a mile, mile and a half, walk a little bit, run like another half mile, and then just walk all the way home. But finally in August, I ran my first 5K, which is just like 3.1 or 2 miles. So basically my 3-mile loop without stopping. So that was about 4 months into my running journey when I was able to run that without stopping. And that was a difficult 3 miles. I was pushing myself. I felt like I was dying afterwards. Again, this was very much still in the summer. So your heart rate just gets so high so fast in the summer. And a couple other milestones as of recently, my first 4 miles without stopping was in October, and my first 5 miles without stopping was in November. I'd say September is when I felt like I could run 3 miles, which basically I was already at my goal that I wanted to reach when I started running. But then you feel like you could just keep going, and it feels good to keep going, and I started running further and having fun with that. Another thing I think is crazy to say now is that I ran for a full hour without stopping at all, and I just never could have imagined myself doing that before. Obviously I'm not going very fast. We'll get into speed later. And that brings me to today in my running journey, where I am actually taking a break from running because I have an injury. Very fun. Again, I'll chat about that in the end, as well as some injury preventions and why I'm stupid and got hurt. Okay, next section, things I would change if I had to start again, and my tips for beginners if you're thinking about starting to run. So there are definitely programs you can do. There are so many different running programs that take you through runs and have you running on certain days, doing interval runs and recovery runs and long runs and all of these things. And something about me, I don't like that. Too complicated. I just wanted to get out and run. So if you want to start running and you don't want to do any super complicated programs and you just want to get started, here's what I would recommend. First things first, get a pair of running shoes. Second, pick a distance outside. I would say anywhere from 2 to 3 miles, and walk it. You're not going to be able to run really any distance right away if you've never run before without stopping, and doing a combination of running and walking is okay. It's still running. And that's something that I've learned to overcome. I used to be mad when I had to like stop at a stoplight because I thought, oh, that means I didn't run the full way. Yes, it does. It's okay to stop occasionally, and it's okay to walk occasionally. So you're going to walk your path of choice, and eventually you're going to get used to the distance, and every time you go out there, you're gonna run a little bit further, a little bit further. Definitely part of it is mental, but when you feel like you really need to stop. So I have an Apple Watch, which is how I track all of my runs. I know it's not a Garmin, it's not like the most accurate, but I love my Apple Watch, and I monitor my heart rate zones. And for me, I know when I'm spending a little bit too much time in zone 4, and especially when I reach zone 5, that's kind of when I need to stop. Thing number 3 is you need to learn how to run slow. And I think learning how to run slow on a treadmill is going to be the easiest way, because you can't push the speed too far. When I say I'm running 3 to 5 miles without stopping, I am literally at like a 12-minute pace, guys. And I get people all the time on my Instagram because I'll post in my stories how far I ran, what my pace was and everything. And I always get these people saying like, I love that you post your slower pace because, you know, it makes people feel good about not running super fast. And I'm like, guys, I'm proud of my 12-minute pace, okay? I'm proud. For me, that is fast. I'm going fast, I am running. It is so impressive to me that I am running 3 to 5 miles at a 12-minute pace. I don't care what anyone says. It is impressive to me. So when people say that, I was like, I didn't really do it to make anyone feel good. Personally, I thought that was great. And that's a big thing, not to compare yourself to other people. Do I see people running 8-minute miles? Yeah, but those are like Olympic athletes to me, okay? We're not the same, and that's okay. I'm just doing this for fun. So starting off slow, I recommend you get on the treadmill. Honestly, pick a pace between 12 to 14 minutes if you've never run before, and just jog at that pace and feel how slow it is. You're going to feel like you're literally stepping under yourself, and that's okay. If you try to run much faster, you're not going to see any progress, because if you're like me, you won't be able to run more than like half a mile at that pace. If you want to run far, you have to run slow, at least at first. The speed will eventually pick up over time. I am running more at like an 11 to 11:30 pace currently, depending on how far I'm running. So I have seen some improvement in my speed, just not like a lot. But again, that's not my goal. The last thing about running slow is you have to just be okay with your pace. Again, you do not need to compare yourself to anyone. My 12-minute pace is fast for some people. Some people are out there running 14-minute miles, and that is okay because what are they doing? They're running. They're running. Personally, any pace that you run, I commend you for, even if you walk. Good for you for getting outside. Once you get comfortable with a slow pace on the treadmill, then I would say get outside and start running that, but be very aware of your pace. I do think it's important to have something like an Apple Watch where you can track your pace, because if you start running outside, you'll probably start running way too fast, and it's good to be checking in with your pace and making sure you're not running too fast. Because again, if you want to run far, and I'm talking like even 2 miles, you have to run slow. And tip number 5 is be very cautious with how much you're increasing your mileage every week. A general rule I see is to not increase your mileage by more than about 10% per week. Again, this is a long journey for me. I'm not trying to run a marathon really at all, but I did increase my mileage too much, too fast, and that's how I got injured. Take it slow. I felt like I could jump from 4 miles to 5 miles right away. I was really excited to be running 5 miles, and now I have some tendonitis that I'm dealing with. So I thought it was a stress fracture, but now my doctor and I are pretty sure that it's tendonitis, especially since the exercises that I'm doing is helping. So if anyone's curious, posterior tibialis tendonitis, common overuse injury, especially for people who slightly pronate their feet like me. Next section is how to improve in your running. And honestly, this is not the video for that. I still don't have the answers on how to improve. Obviously, I have improved over time, and I think if you're sticking with something and you're getting out there and running a little bit more every week, that is improvement. But this isn't a video on how to run a sub 25-minute 5K. This is a video on how to start running and feel like you can run. So improvement comes with time. I don't have any real tips or tricks on that. If I ever get back to running after this injury, maybe we'll do a year running check-in and see how much I've improved. Next, let's get into my warm-up routine. I do take my warm-up routine very seriously. Again, as an ex-dancer, warming up is always so important, and I knew that going into running. So for any warm-up routine, you want to focus on dynamic movements rather than static stretches. That's what's going to help get your muscles actually warmed up. So I'll insert some clips of my little warm-up routine, but I am warming up for about 10 to 15 minutes before my runs. I spend a good amount of time just moving around, opening up my hips. I like to do this little hamstring calf raise exercise that I feel like helps warm up my hamstrings. It also helps get my ankles and my calves moving. You're gonna wanna focus on all of your lower body joints, like your ankles, your knees, your hips. I always finish up my dynamic warm up with some leg swings, and this is what I do on my leg days at the gym as well. I do like 5 to 10 front and back leg swings, and as well as side to side leg swings. That helps open up the hips again, and do that on both sides. And sometimes I do some hip circles as well. Again, opening up the hips. My hips haven't been the problem though, it's been my foot. But I don't think that was a warm up problem. After you do your dynamic warm up and you get outside, I definitely recommend walking for a good 5 minutes. And then if you are trying to do any speed work or run a little bit faster, I also recommend jogging at an easy pace, again, for about 5 minutes before picking up that pace. For me, if I just start running super fast, even after my whole warm up and walk routine, I get a side stitch right away. So I always take my time with a slow jog first. Next section is fueling for runs. So personally, I like to work out first thing in the morning. That includes my runs. And I like to have a little something, but I don't like to eat a lot before the gym or my runs. Personally, I feel like I'll throw up if I eat too much. So I save my breakfast for after my workouts. But my favorite thing for my runs has been a caramel rice cake with a little bit of peanut butter on top. The rice cake gives some carbs, which is good for easy fuel during your run. And then having a little fats and protein in the peanut butter just helps me stay full a little bit longer, especially if I am doing a slightly longer run. I also recommend drinking minimal water before. I do bring water with me on my runs, and we'll get into that. Especially in the desert, you just kind of have to bring water just in case. And then I also like to drink electrolytes after my run. So usually I just fill up my giant 40 ounce, dump in some electrolytes. I've been liking the Element electrolytes recently. They're not overly sweet and sugary tasting like a lot of other electrolytes, and I'm not a soda girly, so I don't really drink like super sugary drinks. So I like that those have minimal flavor and they're almost like salty. But I find that when I don't drink my electrolytes, I am toast for the rest of the day. But if I drink my electrolytes, I suddenly have energy. I don't sweat a lot in the gym, but I do sweat a lot when I run. So you're losing a lot of fluid in your body and you need to replace that, and it can't just be water. It is important to rehydrate with electrolytes. And I also have my go-to protein smoothie after my runs. That's just my normal breakfast that I have every day, but it's important to refuel calorie-wise after your run as well. I don't have any tips on fueling mid-run yet, because from what I've seen, you generally don't need to refuel mid-run unless you're running for like over an hour. And at this point, my longest run has been just right about in an hour. So I currently have no need to fuel during my runs. All right, let's talk about my workout split now that I am running. I am going to do a full video on my workout routine soon, but I want to wait until I'm running again, so it will be on hold a little bit. So this is just a quick overview, but generally I do 3 to 4 days of full body lifts in the gym. Again, the gym is still my #1 priority, and I've been aiming for 2 runs per week. Most recently, my runs have been a slightly faster 3-mile run and then a longer 5-mile run. So those were kind of my 2 weekly runs. You definitely don't need to be working out that many days, but honestly, my hour working out every day is my favorite time of the day. So if I can do that 7 days a week, I will. Next, let's talk about how to stay occupied on longer runs. This is a question that I've gotten from some people, like how do you not get bored on runs? I suggest exploring neighborhoods you haven't been in before, finding an interesting place to run. Honestly, I feel like I'm easily entertained and I really value that time outside, appreciating the fresh air, appreciating being off my phone and not being able to be on my phone. It's just like truly my me time. So I don't really need much entertainment besides that, but I put on my Taylor Swift running playlist. I wander through the neighborhoods, I look at the houses, and I bird watch because we have some cool birds here in the desert. And the other week I saw a roadrunner, and that just like honestly made my entire day. All right, let's talk about things that have been limiting my runs. I'd say my #1 limiting factor to my runs right now is side stitches. So if you've ever done any cardio activity and you get this pain that feels like it's underneath your ribs, kind of up in your diaphragm, that is a side stitch. I've been getting them my entire life, but that's definitely been the #1 thing limiting my runs recently. Even when mentally and physically I feel like I can go faster, my side stitch says no. There are a lot of factors to this. I don't have all the answers. Honestly, different things work for everyone. I've heard so many different suggestions from people. Some people say drink water before your runs. Some people say don't drink water before your runs. Some people say drink electrolytes before your runs. Some people say don't drink electrolytes before your runs. So honestly, I'm not entirely sure. This is something you kind of have to work out for yourself. But I do think having a breathing routine is really important, and this is something I'm still training myself to do. Breathing correctly when running is difficult, but generally what people suggest is to inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. It can be hard if you're pushing yourself too fast to feel like you're getting enough air in through your nose, but generally that just means you gotta slow down a little bit. And recently I've been focusing on 2 to 3 steps during my inhale. So inhaling for 1, 2, 3, and then exhaling out of my mouth for 1, 2, 3. So that's kind of what I've been working on. It's not perfect right now, but working on your breathing is definitely something you should do as a beginner runner. Again, where I'm at right now, dealing with a kind of overuse injury with my posterior tibialis tendonitis. Luckily, it's not a stress fracture like I had thought it was, which means I can still exercise. I'm just focusing on strengthening my foot muscles, my calf muscles. And when I do get back to running, I'm definitely going to take it very slow. So hopefully I can get back to running soon, because I really do want to keep working on my running leggings video. And that's on hold for now, because if I can't run, I can't really test the leggings. The last kind of thing about me and my running journey is any body or weight changes. This is a question that I've gotten from some people. I have been getting questions on if my body or my weight has changed at all since I started running, and the answer is not really. Like maybe 2 pounds, maybe. I've not really noticed a lot of physical change in my body, but that was never my goal. And I kind of just replaced gym days with running days. So overall, I'm still about the same level of activity. I'm definitely burning more calories on run days, but something about cardio is it does increase your appetite. So on those days that you do run and burn a lot of calories, you might be eating a little bit more. So again, whenever incorporating something new into your routine, fitness-wise, I think it's okay to have physical goals, but I think it's so important to have things that are more than physical goals that you can rely on, because if I was expecting my body to significantly change from starting to run, I would have been disappointed because my body is basically the same, and that's okay with me. I didn't really want my body to change. Okay, last thing I've been getting a lot of questions on is what are my favorite running accessories and clothes? So if you guys are regular watchers of the channel, you've probably already seen my running sports bra video, and I've also done 2 videos on running shorts, one for loose running shorts and one for tighter style running shorts. And again, I am working on my running leggings video, but we are still in the works with that because of my injury. So besides that, I do have some running accessories that I like and will recommend to you guys. Honestly, most of this is all from my Amazon storefront, so I do have a running essentials section of that. But first is my vest. I don't care if people think I don't run far enough to need a vest or to need water. I like it, and I just feel better knowing I have some water, especially since I was running in the summer. It's honestly not safe to be running in the Arizona heat without any water on you. So this is my vest. I have had one other vest and a running belt, both of which I did not like. This is my favorite so far. It has a nice little zip pocket here that fits my phone. It is really adjustable, so you can adjust it on the sides here, and you can also adjust it in the front area here. The last vest I bought was not adjustable enough, and it was just too loose overall. So this one, I can really just like get it nice and compressed, and it also kind of like holds the girls down a little bit more, so it acts as like an additional level of compression if you feel like your sports bra is just not quite doing enough. Not really what it was meant to do, but it does do that. The other side has another pocket here. This is generally where I carry my keys, my AirPods, and my pepper spray, because as a woman, you definitely need to be carrying something for self-defense. Honestly, it is so important, even if you're a man. Honestly, carry something for self-defense. You don't want to regret not having something. My vest also has a little whistle, which is another safety feature. And then I have had vests with water bottles in the front. I didn't like the water bottles in the front because they would kind of jiggle around and feel like it was my chest jiggling, so I was not a fan of that. This is a water bladder that came with the vest. It holds a good amount of water. I don't fill it up the full way every time, but this is just super easy to just grab a sip. Basically, I'm only having like maybe 1 or 2 sips each mile, if that, maybe like 1 sip per mile, just to kind of stay a little bit hydrated but not weigh my stomach down. But it has a little Velcro that helps keep this in place so it doesn't really jiggle around. You also want to make sure to get all the air out before closing it, but it has not leaked at all. I did get a little bit of chafing where my phone kind of poked into me with this vest, but I bought some moleskin padding if I'm not wearing a shirt, but since it has been cold outside, I've been wearing a shirt and I've had no chafing issues or any discomfort with this vest. So highly recommend this vest. It's like $20 on Amazon. It's super cheap, but it's really nice. Again, I like my Asics and my Brooks. I'll link both of these down below, but I do suggest you go to a running store. My running socks I've been wearing recently are from Saucony. I don't know if that is how you pronounce it, but I believe that's a running brand. And I like that they have the little heel tab that kind of sticks up a little bit, so you don't get any heel chafing or anything. And they're still a nice thin sock without being too much, but they just provide a little bit more support than my normal Costco socks. I have actually switched up my running hairstyle since the fall. I used to do a ponytail with a braid, but I don't really like to do a heavy ponytail. I feel like it just kind of rips my hair out over time. So lately I've just been doing a French braid and then throwing on a headband because my ears get very cold, and when my ears get cold, they hurt and they give me a headache. So my 2 headbands that I've been wearing, I really like the Paragon recstretch headbands. It's made of a nice sweat wicking material, but you can see it's still thick enough that it covers your ears, but it's almost just like a windbreaking layer. It's not super hot and it's very sweat absorbent. If you're somewhere really cold, I got this little Fleece headband on Amazon a couple years ago for my walks. It has this little thickened area for your ears, and this will keep your ears very warm. Currently, I don't think it's quite cold enough for me to use this yet, but when it does get really cold, I will have that. And again, I do have dedicated running clothes videos, but I'll just throw in a couple of my favorites. First, we have these CRZ long sleeve tops. They have thumb holes, so they kind of keep your wrists warm. They're lightweight and sweat wicking, but they still provide enough warmth for me right now. I'd say the coldest I've run in so far is like 45 degrees, so if that helps. The running sports bra I reach for the most is the Syrokan front adjustable bra. This bra has the best balance of being supportive, adjustable, comfortable, and affordable. It honestly checks checks all of those boxes, and even if it wasn't affordable, I would still be buying it. Running shorts, honestly, my favorite ones have been the Aerie Goals 7-inch pocket shorts. These are a no front seam, no top band pocket short that's made of a compressive, sleek performance material, and they're just the perfect length. Aerie, please come out in more colors with these. I need more colors. And running leggings, again, we are working on it, but this is an old legging, but it's just been so good for running. These are the Buff Bunny Rebel leggings. They're honestly the only no front seam, no top band running leggings I've tried so far that don't slide down on me. These just glue to my body. They don't even have this color on the website anymore. I'm gonna ask them to bring some back because personally I need more, but they've just been my favorite, and it's really hard to find running leggings that check all those boxes. Okay, that was a very long video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments down below, are you a runner? Are you thinking about starting running? And even if you watch this whole video, that doesn't even mean that you need to start running if you don't want to. I'm not trying to influence anyone to start running, but I have no reason to get people to start running other than to maybe find something new that they enjoy, get outside a little bit more, improve your cardio health a little bit, and just live healthy, active lives. So if you want to do that, if you want to start running, honestly, I've been having a good time. So I hope I get back to it soon. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments down below, and any video requests as always. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.